Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I'm an independent knitwear designer who also likes to make videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit. Make sure to check in the description notes below the video where you will find links to all of my online shenanigans, including how to get my patterns for yourself, including the ones I'm talking about in this video, how to join the Watch Barbara Knit Facebook group, how to get my merchandise, and how to support me on Patreon. Today we have pattern tours. Two of them at the same time, because both of these shawls are in addition to a pre-existing collection that I did several years ago. A pattern tour is where I show you the shawls and talk about the inspiration behind them, their construction, all those kinds of things. Because while I do my very best to have nice photos that show all of the information that you need for decision making as to whether or not you want the pattern, sometimes it's just really good to see it move, see it drape, get a better idea of what the piece looks like. Now, as I mentioned, these particular shawls are an addition to an existing collection, and after I show you the shawls, I will tell you more about how they relate to that collection. But the number one thing you need to know about it is the theme, because the theme of this collection is Dr. Seuss based, okay? So the names are gonna be a little bit wacky. The other thing is that it's also a mini stitch dictionary that is full of 2-stitch repeats that can be substituted into this pattern. Again, more on that later. Now, these patterns are available separately. If you just want the one, that's fine. If you want them both, fantastic. But you will also get a special discount if you have or purchase the whole collection. Again, after I finish talking about the shawls, I'll tell you more about that. Now, I don't even need to know where to start. You know what? I'm going to start with the first one, which seems ridiculous. So the first one I'm going to talk about is actually, I waited to release this because it was actually done in the summer, but it is as close as I'm going to get to a Christmas themed type shawl. This is for the holidays, and the name of it is 2 sizes too small, okay? Which is a reference to how the Grinch stole Christmas. And the reason why I chose that is because it's what's known as a heart-shaped shawl, okay? So, you know, the Grinch, his heart was 2 sizes too small. It's not that the shawl's too small, it's just a little bit of my own personal pun. And so it is a heart-shaped shawl, which means it's similar to a top-down triangle, but it has extra fabric in the wing parts, so it comes around the shoulders more. And I'm going to back up a little bit. So this is a big shawl, so 2 sizes too small is a little disingenuous, but here, let me show you. So see how, nope, too low. Get this. So instead of going straight across, there we go. Instead of going straight across the top like a regular top-down triangle would, you can see that the wings arch up, which makes them envelop more. It's a really fun shape. It has a little bit different shaping than a traditional top-down triangle, but I think it's really cool, and I'm going to pull it up a bit. If I fill the entire screen with the shawl, then my webcam goes a little bit bonkers. So that's why I'm showing you pieces. And so here is, so it does. It definitely goes down to a triangle point. And you will notice that there is almost like a gradient going here. You can see there's a distinct color shift. And that's because this took 2 skeins of the yarn, and I did not alternate skeins. I just used 1 skein until it was done, and then I started the other skein. And since it was a highly variegated hand-dyed yarns, those 2 skeins were a slightly different color. So it's kind of fun because you can see, so the first skein got me all the way down to here, and then just this little end part, that right there, that's the second skein. All of this is the first skein. That's the second skein. So that's cool. So you could definitely do that same thing and like deliberately pick out skeins that are two slightly different colors to get this same effect, which I think came out kind of cool. I really liked how that worked. Now, this particular yarn. So both of the yarns for these two patterns were provided to me by Malabrigo. I have a wonderful working relationship with them, and the original collection was a collaboration with Malabrigo, so that's why I wanted to continue using their yarns for this collection. This particular yarn is Susurro, Sussurro, which means like whisper or something like that. And it is a blend of 50% silk, 25% merino wool, and 25% linen. I'm looking at my PDF of the actual pattern on my other computer screen so I can make sure that I give you all of the correct information, okay? It is a single ply yarn, and it definitely has that, you know, the linen is, it has like those little linen inclusions. Can you see that? There you go. It's got the little bits that stick out. It's really a beautiful, beautiful yarn. And this particular color that I used is called Tiger's Eye, after the gemstone, I assume. And I just absolutely loved it. It is a sport weight yarn. I knit it on a size 6 US 4mm millimeter. Everybody else. And a 40-inch circular needle, because at the end you have very, very, very long rows. You could probably even, you know, if you want a little extra wiggle room, go up to a 60-inch cable on your circular needle. It takes 2 skeins. Each skein is 325 yards. So you're going to need, and that's 297 meters. Let me get my calculator up. That is 325 times 2, 650 total yards of sport weight yarn. You could creep up into DK weight. Just, you're looking for 325 a skein is going to get you in the general vicinity of where you want to be. The finished measured size is 26.5 by 68.5 inches, or 67 by 174 centimeters. Okay, so those are all of its like specific details. Again, it starts at the top. You're going to need 2 stitch markers for this. It's going to help you with not having to count quite so much. I think it is really cool. Now, the way this pattern works is you have one texture that you start with. Here you can see. So you've got this one texture here that is really cool, and then it shifts to a different texture. It's kind of subtle. Let me see how close up I can get and get my, see, you can see how it changes, and it's just a subtle change. And so you start off with a good bit of the original texture, and then you change for another texture, and then you go back to the original texture, and then you change to another, and then you're alternating between the 2 textures until you're done. And honestly, you could keep going if you wanted to make it bigger. You could stop short if you wanted it smaller, although I really, really like the size this came out. It's a nice big shawl. I think it is so pretty. It is a very simple texture. Both the patterns are very simple. The only stitches are knit, purl, slip one with yarn in front, yarn over. Is really? Is that it? I feel like. Hang on. Okay, I had to double check myself because I was like, wait a minute. So I'm looking. So every one of my patterns on that front page, unless it has a lot of stitches and then it spills over to the second page, has a place where the stitch abbreviations are. And the ones I just told you, which would be knit, purl, slip, and yarn over, are the only stitches on that. I'm like, wait a minute, no, there's one more. And I had to double check myself to make sure that I didn't miss something. And then when I remember, I stopped to look, and then on page 2, there's actually a section that specifically describes the special increase, because on the wrong side, to create this very dynamic and different, you can see here, that center, there's a specific, and there's like a whole paragraph explaining how to do it. It's not hard to do. It's just hard to put into words how to do it. So it's knit, yarn over, knit into the same stitch, which literally is just insert to knit, but don't let that stitch fall off the left hand needle. Yarn over, then insert to knit again. So you've turned that 1 stitch into 3 stitches. What makes it a little more complicated is you have to place the marker so that you know where you're going. So that is what makes it just a little bit juggly. Okay. So there you go. So that is 2 sizes too small. And okay, I just love it. I think it's you know what, let's see. It's a very, you can't see it. It's a big shawl. It's got a lot of fabric for you to play with. I mean, it's 2 skeins of sport weight. Honestly, you could do it with other yarn weights if you wanted to. It's just really flexible. I just think it's pretty. Okay. I'm going to put this one to the side over here. Now, the second one for the name, I was like, okay, what is one of the most memorable Dr. Seuss books? And for the second one, the name of it is Would You, Could You? As in, would you, could you in a car? Would you, could you in a house? Would you, could you with a mouth? It is Green Eggs and Ham is the reference. Does the shawl have anything to do with green eggs and ham? Absolutely not. So this is the second one. So this one is what's known as a Boomerang Style shawl. It starts in this upper tiny cast on, only a few stitches, and then it gradually increases on a bias, just 1 stitch every 2 rows until you get this lovely elongated asymmetrical triangle, and then the bind off is this all along here on the bottom. So one edge of your triangle is the bind off, this is the neckline, and then this, as you're creating it, this edge is the other side of the triangle. So here is what it looks like. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ah, it's making a mess. Here, I'm going to hold it up and hold still for a moment so you can see it, okay? Okay, how about a close-up then? This, again, alternates between 2 different stitch patterns. And you will find, and as we explain about 1 stitch, 2 stitch, this is the theme of the whole collection. So this one starts off with this stitch pattern, and you can see, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is not lace, okay? It does have a yarn over, but there's no decreases. It's just lace. It's just yarn over. It's really kind of fun. It's a really neat, I love how it makes this, here, let me hold it that way. It's got that really cool look to it, and I think it plays really well with this yarn. And then it switches to a different stitch. So you can see, and what I was playing with is it has this horizontal motif, and then it switches to here we go, this vertical motif. You see how it goes up and down, and then we have horizontal motif, vertical motif, tiny bit of horizontal, vertical, and then back to a big chunk of horizontal. And then that repeats, because then we just repeat that same sequence of pattern A, pattern B, A, B, pattern A, over and over again, pretty much until you run out of yarn. Okay, so You notice this yarn doesn't have any of the occlusions. This, this is, let me make sure I pronounce it right. This is Malabrigo Caprino, okay? It is solidly a DK weight yarn, and it is a blend of Malabrigo's super fine merino. They have a super soft merino. They're very well known for it, but they chose to blend it 80% their merino and 20% cashmere. Okay, so there's actually cashmere in this, and it is so soft. It is a DK weight. It comes in 50 gram skeins, and that's 149 yards or 145 meters in one skein, and this is the size it comes out if you use 3 skeins. This is 150 grams of DK weight. That would be, let me get back to my calculator, that would be 159 times 3, 477 that was easy for me to say, yards of this DK weight. And this one, what I don't know how to pronounce, it is Poipu, P-O-I-P-U. I don't know how to pronounce that O-I sound, Poipu. And it is a really cool speckle, and I thought it worked really well in this texture. Now, of course, you could do it in a solid, and the pattern is going to be even more visible, and it could totally handle a variegated because it's moving it around and breaking it up. But I just love it. It is super warm. It is really, really soft. It drapes beautifully. Now, I used a size 7 needle, which is 4.5 millimeters on this. And because it doesn't grow the same way as the heart-shaped shawl, I only needed a 32-inch cable on my circular needle. So you can get away with a slightly smaller, what's going on over here? You can get away with a slightly shorter circular needle. And the final size of it is 16 inches, and that's the dimension that's at the deepest drop of it. And then the wingspan is 49 inches. That's how long it is. So it only gets 16 inches deep. It's one of those that's more a wrapping shawl, but it is a really fun shape. Let's see here. This one has a couple other, again, it's manipulating the stitches in a fun way. It has knit front back, purl, slip, knit, yarn over. Again, nothing particularly challenging. There are little juggling, but I explain it very, very clearly, I hope, on how to achieve all of this. Now, okay. So that is Would You, Could You. Now, I'm going to show you still modeled photographs of each of these shawls, and I'm going to try to position myself in the middle here so I can have one right here and one right here. So you can take a look at them real quick. These are what they look like when they are worn, and I would love to thank the amazing Gail Zucker. She did the photography for this when I just couldn't work it into my schedule, and I just loved having her do these beautiful photo shoots. I will definitely link to her in the description notes below. When you buy these patterns, you get the line-by-line instructions to make these shawls exactly as I showed you. But you also, in the same pattern, get the instructions on how to incorporate the stitches in the One Stitch, Two Stitch ebook into the pattern. And you're like, what do you mean by that? Okay, now is the time. I told you I was going to tell you about it. The One Stitch, Two Stitch ebook, the idea behind it is playing with what can you do with stitches that are only 2 wide. And honestly, I've done videos on this. I will link it in the description notes below. But the Cliff Notes version is there are like between 12 and 14, I can never remember exactly how many, written out stitch patterns, okay? And it's like a regular stitch dictionary. It has instructions on how to do them flat. It has instructions on how to do the stitch in the round. And then it has a photograph of a swatch that I knit. Now, of course, we've got stockinette, we've got garter, all of these work, but then there are other fun stitches that create different effects. The original ebook includes a hat, a cowlette, a scarf, and a interestingly shaped asymmetrical triangle shawl, but built in a very, very different way. And what I decided when I wanted to do these patterns is we needed more shawl shapes incorporated into this collection. Again, the ebook has the information on how to knit those patterns as shown, but also how to, for you to take any of the stitch patterns in the ebook and put them into the pattern yourself so you can customize and or design your own patterns. It's super fun. I mean, at least I think it's super fun. I really like to encourage y'all to play with your knitting and push the boundaries of what you can do, because this is preset. So it has like instructions on this is how you take these stitches and put them into these specific patterns, and the patterns are written to work with them. These two new shawls are written to work with the ebook. Okay, so you have the pages that tell you how to knit the shawl is written, and if that's what you want to do, you can do that. But then the next couple pages actually tell you how to pick out the stitches from the stitch dictionary and insert them into the pattern, up to and including the last page is an actual worksheet with blank lines for you to write your part of the pattern in. So you get it in a PDF, you can print it out and customize the patterns as you want. So that is how it incorporates into the collection. I have set up a promotion on Ravelry so that if you already own One Stitch, Two Stitch, and you purchase one or both of these patterns, you will get 25% off of these patterns, okay? If you don't already own One Stitch, Two Stitch, if you purchase One Stitch, Two Stitch, and one or both of these shawls, you will get 25% off of all of the elements. If I have it set up correctly, I really, really, really hope I do. If you try to use it and it doesn't work, it doesn't need a coupon. It's just set up to automatically give you the discount. And so I click the button that says previous purchases apply to this discount. So if you buy the three of them together, you will get 25% off. So hopefully I have it set up right. I tried really, really hard. There really isn't any good way for me to set up a similar type of promotion on the PayHip site. So if you are the type of person, so if you prefer not to use Ravelry, what I really would ask is for you to contact me directly. You can find my email on the About section of any number of locations, and let me know and we will work something out, okay? It's just that Ravelry provides a lot of tools for me to be able to do different styles of discounts and promotions. And if you've already purchased One Stitch, Two Stitch, really the only way to get that discount is through Ravelry, or I have to be able to figure out how to confirm the, I don't know. It's complicated, but I just wanted, so if you've already got One Stitch, Two Stitch, you get the discount on these shawls, okay? If you buy them all three at the same time, you get the discount, and it applies to all three. That means 25% off both shawls and 25% off the ebook. So then you have, that's like 6 patterns. So I'm super excited. So that is what we have. You know what? I should probably show you the cover of One Stitch, Two Stitch. So I'm going to scooch over here. I'll put a picture right here. There it is. So that is the hat, the cowlette, the shawl, and the scarf. Their names are, so the hat is No Pat No. The cowlette is Ring the Gack. The shawl is On Mulberry Street. and the scarf is called Salamissond. Okay, again, they're all Dr. Seuss references. I had fun with this, and they're all in Malabrigo yarn, and it's just gorgeous. So it's one of my favorites. Video's gotten a little bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it and maybe want to play with one or both of these patterns. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up, click that like button. And if you would like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, please subscribe to my channel and select notifications. Thank you so much.